Welcome to District 42 Synergy Hub, where ideas, learning, and collaboration come together.
Begin. Brilliant. Thank you, everybody who's here. I'm not sure what timing here. It is 7 o'clock, just letting you know. I know for some it's 9 o'clock, for some it's different timing as well. Wherever you're logging in from, I want you to know I appreciate you and you're meant to be here. And here's what we're going to be doing today. I wanted to start with this particular sofa because as I went into this whole world of personal branding and how it came about, the sofa held quite a bit of a significance for me. The year is 2016, right? I've just graduated from university, so 10 years ago now. I feel a bit old, but that's besides the point. And I was on the sofa when I got a call from another Toastmaster, friend of mine, right? He reached out and he said, Khurram, what are you doing with your life? And I was like, I've just graduated and I'm looking for a job and stuff. And he's like, do you want to come work with us? Right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was my first interview, right? And I've reflected on that since. That was a job I used to travel for every day because I'm based in Bahrain and the job was in Saudi. So I used to had to cross a bridge. It's kind of like going from US to Canada, right? So it was that sort of a proximity coming in as well. And I was working 2 years I did. I absolutely loved the work. But why did he reach out to me like that? I knew that I had spread the message out and I knew that people know that I've just graduated. But in more ways than one, I feel like that had a lot to do with the brand that I had in the world of Toastmasters at that point in time in particular, because raise your hand if you virtual hands, and I can see some of your hands as well. If you've ever thought, okay, I wonder what they think about me. I wonder if I made the right impression. I wonder if I landed the message that I wanted to get to as well, right? All of us. And if you're not raising your hand, well, we know who not the truth tellers in this virtual room are, because we all have thought about it. Because here's the truth, is that whether you think about it or not, whether you know it or not, and especially whether you like it or not, you have a personal brand, right? You know about it, you think about it, whether you're working on it or not, you have a brand. And since you have one, we might as well work on how we want it to be. You have a personal brand, we're going to work on that particular thing as well. So in today's session, we're going to talk about what it is, how do we go about defining our personal brand. We're going to talk about how do we give your brand some life as well. And we're going to talk about, where to go, the benefits that we have for which you're here as well. And we're going to look at LinkedIn in particular in order for us to understand what this whole thing is about. All right. Now, before we get to it, here's a couple of ground rules in addition to what Olnari has mentioned as well, right? There will be a time for me to speak, and then there will be a time for you to speak. So this is the time when I'm speaking. But when the time comes when you have to speak, I would love for you to unmute your mics and be able to share something with the people as well that we're here. There's going to be some activities and some breathers as well. I very strategically include some breathers just so I can drink some water, to be honest, because I get thirsty as the sessions are going about as well. And there will be some group participations and discussions as well. I would love for us to be able to share your thoughts, your discussions, and what you're coming to about as well. But most importantly, there will be checkpoints and questions. Now, I don't know where you are in the world. I won't be able to get you something, but you sure will get brownie points today if you're able to share those questions to the answers that I'll be asking as well. All right. How are we feeling? Are we good to begin? Yeah, just a show of hands. Brilliant. Some reactions coming in. I love that. Let's keep that on as well. All right. Let's get to it. Now, what is a personal brand? Right. We all have our own ideas of what it could be, what it means. But before we get into what a personal brand is, I want to get into what a brand is, right? Let's do a little activity. I'm going to put up a statement here, and I want you to unmute and tell what it reminds you of. So, tech that promotes creativity and simplicity. What does it remind you of? Which brand does it remind you of? Mary, go ahead, yeah?
Apple.
Apple, absolutely, right? Think different. They have invested billions of dollars since about the time that they started all the way back in the 70s and 80s to enable Mary today to be able to share that answer, right? Tech that promotes creativity and simplicity. All right, next up. Sportswear that says anyone can be an athlete.
Nike.
Nike, right? A lot of people have also said Adidas as well, which works because that's their association with the brand that they have. But absolutely, Nike with their slogan, just do it. Fizzy drink that makes you feel refreshed. This usually gets interesting answers. What would it be? We've got, go ahead, Mark.
Coca-Cola. I'm not a Coca-Cola drinker. I don't know.
Neither am I, absolutely. But I put a statement. I didn't put anything else. I didn't give you a color or anything, but it made you think of Coca-Cola. For a lot of people, they also think of Pepsi as well. That's a discussion for another day, but I don't drink either. So usually that comes in. Taste the feeling, right? That's what they worked on. An airline that embodies traveling with care and class. Now, this I included specifically because this was District 42. So I was like, okay, which brands are there that work well? So this is something that you got to help me out with. What is the answer to this one? I see some chats are coming in as well. What do we have? Vesta says not Air Canada. Emirates, brilliant. Yeah. That works as well. But if you're going with District 42 in particular, because it's based in Alberta and Saskatchewan, it is Air Canada, which comes to fly the flag, right? That's the brand that they have. That's what they're working with. Now, I've never traveled Air Canada, so you tell me if what they're promoting works well. Vesna said not Air Canada. Vesna, would you like to share with us why? Why did you say no?
Oh, I guess they're just, I know they're traveling all over the world, but they're not known for the great service and whatever, at least not in our end. So I don't know.
Okay, bro. See, so that tells you something. That tells you about a brand, what they're trying to do, and what one of the customers, at least, there's a mismatch right over there. But hopefully not the next one, because the next one I feel is a very good export of at least coming out of Canada as well. When I was doing my MBA, we had a Canadian with us as well. And every time he would walk into the class, he would walk in with this in particular. And it was so on brand for him. And that is leading coffee that you would always have time for. That's what they say. Anybody wants to share what that coffee chain is that comes out of Canada? Christina mouthed it. Yes.
Tim Hortons.
Always fresh, always delicious, always Tim Hortons. So when it comes to it, by the way, if you
are right on.
Yeah. Us sitting right over here, thousands of miles away. I think the flight from here to Canada as well is about 16 odd hours. This is one of the greatest exports of Canada coming out of Canada as well, which is Tim Hortons, and it is quite nice. It is way better than Starbucks in my opinion, and it is a good place to be in. It is a good place that I enjoy myself as well. But world-leading public organization on communication and leadership. Oh, this is what we call paid advertisement. So I need to ask you about this as well. This comes in as Toastmasters. But there was a time when somebody said something about Rotary as well, because they work on something or the other about leadership, which was interesting. But no, we are here. We're talking about Toastmasters, something that we are very proud of as well. Now, let's switch that up. I will put colors, and I want you to tell me what do these colors remind you of? You can unmute, you can voice it out as well. Vesna said, Megdi, absolutely. Just with colors. McDonald's, I'm loving it, right? Let's go to the next one. What does this remind you of?
Starbucks.
Right? Colors, just colors. I did not give you any other indication. I only put up colors. Somebody said something else?
TD Bank.
See, that's your association with that. I don't know about that bank as well, but
the wrong green.
They're not green.
It's the wrong green. It's not
wrong green. Now this one for Starbucks, which was one person, one cup, one neighborhood at a time, which sounds very ominous if you ask me. It's almost like they're taking over the world, which in many ways that's what they're working for. But no, absolutely. Now, here is the question that I want you to answer. So, Olunari, you've got a link if you're able to paste it in the chat as well, or if you've got your phone, you can take QR code and scan it as well, and it'll take you to something called Mentimeter, right? In which I want to know, in your opinion, we've done just a little exercise, what do you think a brand is? All right, are you able to share the link? Yes, the link is in the chat as well. If you're on your devices, you can either scan it or you can click on the link as well. It'll take you, and then we can all answer and we can see each other's answers as well. So what do you think a brand, in your opinion, is? All right, I will stop this share and I will move on to the other one as well in just a minute. Put your answers in. We'll give you 10 more seconds. And can I just say, Margaret's background is so nice. It's so Toastmasters. She's got the old logo up as well. She's got the new logos up. So I've worked with the old logos as well back in the day, yeah. All right, let's see what we have. So you're able to see it? Yes. What is a brand? Recognition, absolutely. Identity, very crucial. Quick visual recognition, absolutely as well. That works for that sort of a brand as well. And ongoing identity and narrative, something that I couldn't recognize, that's okay. That's to be able to understand it. Represents you, way to say this is, or represents you. The feeling you leave people with, oh, very crucial, very, very crucial. Whoever answered that, plus 10 points to you. And something that represents you as well. All right. And then quick, brilliant, brilliant. These are good answers. Look at you being a good class already, giving all the correct answers. I love it. Let me get back to now. All of you have answered what you said. Identity, quick recognition, represents you. All of these answers are absolutely brilliant. A brand essentially is a promise, a story, right? Can we all agree to that? A brand, all of the things that you said, it is what you expect it to provide you with. Apple, you expect it to provide you with tech that is simple, that is creative, something that you feel like using as well, right? If the association that you have with Tim Hortons, it's because they worked on developing that story, that brand, that association that they would have with you as well. Your personal brand is your promise and your story. Simply put, when it comes to what your personal brand is, you take all the things that we learned about a brand and you put that into a person, and that's where you get your personal brand as well. So it is your promise and your story. Essentially, it is storytelling. And the good news about that is for us in Toastmasters, we spend a lot of time on storytelling, right? We spend a lot of time in sharing our stories and developing our stories and documenting our stories as well. So let me ask you this when it comes to this whole aspect of personal brand is, who is telling your story in this aspect of personal brand, right? Now, if you are telling your story, if you're sharing your story online with the people that you're coming up with the people that you're meeting, you are working on your personal brand, knowingly or unknowingly, right? But if you're not telling your story, and here's what I want you to remember, people are telling your story or they're making up a story about you with or without you. So you working on your personal brand is all about you regulating and you managing that impression that they're having about you as well, right? There are many ways, there are many seconds that people usually say, but it takes about anywhere between 7 to 10 seconds for people to form an opinion about you, right? Your personal brand, the way you represent yourself online and offline, and we're going to talk about both later on, is you managing that. It is you taking the control of the narrative that you want to share with the people around you as well. So you telling your story is you essentially working on your personal brand as well. And it comes down to this simple thing, which we do a lot in the world of Toastmasters, is that you do things, you tell people. You do good things, you do things of interest, you do things that are bringing light and life into your life at the moment, and you tell people. It's as simple as that, right? You do things, you tell people. That in a nutshell is what personal branding is. We all know this guy, right? Now, you may not like him, which is absolutely fair, you know, mega billionaire, but he said something that summarizes this whole thing very, very well. And that is, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. That's it. Thank you for coming. We can go, we can go about as well, because that is in essence what the whole thing is. If you can influence what people are saying about you in one way or another, you are working on your personal brand, right? And that is very essential for us to remember. Now, it is divided into three different elements of it. First up comes perception. How are people perceiving you, right? How can you work on that perception that you want to be able to develop and you want to be able to work with it? There are so many ways where you can influence that perception that people have about you. You cannot control it, but you can definitely work on influencing it as well, right? And then what is the kind of experience that you're providing as well? Because your perception might be one, you might be very tip top, but the experience that you're providing them may not match that as well. So your perception, the experience that people have when they come in a touch point contact with you, whether online or offline, and what value do you bring and what value do you provide? These are the couple of things that when you start working is what kind of a perception or how do I want people to perceive me? How do I want people to share the experience that I have as well? And what value do I want them to know that I can bring or I have the potential to bring? And these sort of things can basically be a part of your personal brand. There's a lot more aspects to it as well, but to put it simply, these are the three different pillars that come in: perception, experience, and value. But there are some fundamentals when it comes to it. So it comes from a place of growth mindset. Some people don't want to be able to put themselves out there. Some people are happy the way that they are, and that is unknowingly a brand that they've created for themselves, and that's absolutely fine. But this sort of a thing, at least the one that we're going to talk about for the next hour here today, is that it comes from a growth mindset of you. You are in a growth mindset. You're growing constantly. You're improving yourself, and you want to be able to share that with people as well. And it comes with the willingness to put yourself out there, because some people don't want to put themselves out there. They're not comfortable with that. That's absolutely fine. You've got to remember that this thing that we're going to be working on today is not a sprint. It's a marathon. And marathon takes time. Marathon takes a while for you to be able to work on yourself. And it takes a lot to build that capacity and to build that stamina, right? And this is something that we should be very aware of, is this one and the next one. We're Toastmasters at the end of the day. So it comes from a drive to serve and add value. And service is one of our core values when it comes to it as well. So it is coming from that aspect of you are not looking for immediate gains. You don't want to put yourself out there and the next thing you know is that you want immediate benefits that come out of it. No, this is something that will take a while for it to develop. It's a constant story that you're telling, retelling, the narrative that you want to be able to share. And that's where it comes about as well, right? Now, anybody knows who this is? Am I sure? Any Batman fans in the house? No? Like, where am I? So I'm a huge Batman fan, as you can tell. I've got a little coaster right here. And there's a lot that you can learn from this as well, you know, when it comes to it. So this is from a series called The Penguin, right? Now, he is absolutely a terrible example when you're looking at personal branding. You should not be looking at this guy. He's a goon. He's working in that way as well. I did want to mention before that the lights go off because they're sensor-based. So this will also give me a chance to just stretch my legs. The lights come back on, and then I come back on. So it's just, you know, that will keep happening, you know. Now, he says something that is a very good example. Now, don't look at him as an example, but we can take the good things from the people who are not good as well. So he's a goon. He's basically a gangster. He takes over Gotham City, but he has this person that comes up who's a kid, who's a stutterer, and he tells him something that I really resonated with. And he's like, learn to take up space, kid. So when he told that, and then the growth of, now what happens to the kid is a separate issue, right? We're not getting into that, but learn to take up space. Point being, you working in this world of personal branding is you learning to take up space. Personally, professionally, online, and offline. When you start working on this whole aspect of personal branding, you're learning to take up your space and the space that you want people to be included in, and how does those things work as well, right? All right, checkpoint. Ready for some brownie points coming in? Okay, what did Jeff Bezos say? Who can unmute and share that?
Your brand is what people say when
Brand
you're not in
what's
the
good?
room.
Yeah,
Absolutely
correct.
brilliant. Thank you. Right. What are the three pillars when it comes to personal branding? Things that you can work on.
Perception, experience, and value.
Brilliant. Thank you, Margaret. I see you've been taking notes. Love it. That works well.
That
All
was
right.
Molly.
That was Molly. Sorry. Girls, thank you so much. I can only see some of the few people in the screen. Love it. Now, when it comes to these things, all right, it is not a sprint, but a
Marathon.
marathon. Very important to remember. And if you what it does come to, it's really about a simple sentence, which I have put up on screen as 4 different words. Very important for us
Learn
to
to
remember.
take up space.
That was true, but not the sentence that I was looking for. Before that, a couple of slides before that. Personal branding is all about something starts with doing.
Do tell.
Do tell, yeah. You do things, you tell
Do
People.
people. When
You
it comes to that.
do
Good
do
class, good.
things, tell people.
Do things, tell people. Absolutely. Brilliant, brilliant. Brownie points for all of you. Participation points. Olinaru can get you from the district budget something or the other. All right. Now that we've made an understanding of what a personal brand is and what it could be, now we can go further into defining what your personal brand is. Now, the idea and the way I approach personal branding is not for us to directly just take LinkedIn and start with it. No, the idea is for us to start within ourselves and for us to understand ourselves a little bit further and then go ahead and start creating your stories as well. We won't get into sharing our stories straight away. There's a little bit of understanding that we need to do with ourselves before we get to that stage as well. So we're going to talk about who you are, your brand brief, and there's absolutely one thing that I want you to remember from this presentation today that would come towards the end as well. All right, let's get into it. Who are you? Ooh, that's the life question, isn't it? Like that's a tough one. Philosophers have spent years and decades making it their practice in trying to understand this question. Who are you? Now, we're not going to solve that in the next half an hour or so, but here's a couple of pointers that you can start with in trying to understand this thing as well, right? What are you passionate about? Okay. What are you good at? And it's not necessarily that what you're passionate about is what you're good at, right? Mama Bear, Vesna. Okay, brilliant. I love that. What core strengths and skills and credibility do you demonstrate? Now, you could be passionate about something, you could be good at it, but then how do people verify that you're good at it as well? And that's where credibility comes in, right? What differentiates you? What's your X factor, as they say? Basically, what's your why? Simon Sinek talks about that a whole lot if you know about him. Toastmasters love Simon Sinek. We love quoting him. We love talking about him as well. And he has this whole book that says start with why, right? So it's the why, the how, and the what, or the other way around. But why is at the core of it. He calls it the golden circle, right? What's your why? What gets you out of bed in the morning? Why are you doing? Why are you here today? Right? That's the activity that we're going to try and answer and start with today as well. So we're going to look at what your top core 6 strengths are, what you think your top 6 core strengths are. We're going to look at among those core strengths, what's an X factor that separates you or differentiates you. And then now this part is really important. We're going to come with 3 truth tellers, not your mother, right? Not somebody who's very close to you, but people who can verify that aspect of it as well. Because you really think that you are a good singer and that's a core strength, but the people around you might disagree with that, right? So it's 3 truth tellers. So people whom you can go up to and be like, I think I'm really good at speaking, presenting, running. Can you verify these things for me, right? So they can highlight somebody who will reflect you back to yourself. So we're going to put 2 minutes on the clock. And I'd love for you to list these things down, and then we're going to go into a little bit of discussion, right? Your top 6 core strengths, your X factor, and your truth tellers, which you don't have to share with us, but you have to know who they are. Time is up. Time is running. So go ahead, please write them down.
Two X factors.
That's about a 1 minute mark. Almost there. I almost feel like I should do a countdown towards it. 10, 9, 8, 7. And we are up. Brilliant, brilliant. Let's get to it. I feel like I should have also turned that into a competition. Whoever's done, hands up. So I should have seen that as well. Brilliant. All right. Would anybody like to unmute and share what they think their top 6 core strengths are? Vesna, go ahead.
I had to think about this. Okay, so I would say passion, learning, teaching, mentoring, creativity, and leadership. Those would be the core strengths. I had to think about the X factor. So I asked ChatGPT, what would be my X factor? Now listen to this answer. Your X factor is your ability to blend leadership, creativity, execution across completely different worlds and make it look effortless.
I love it. Okay, okay.
It's actually a pretty good answer.
Love it. Now, who can verify that apart from ChatGPT?
Half of the group here.
I will, Mama Bear.
Margaret, Ola, Marcy, all those ladies here can verify that.
Well, brilliant, brilliant. That means with knowingly or unknowingly, that's the sort of a brand that you've developed. So when they think of somebody who can blend leadership and creativity and communication, they would think of you as well. So job well done to you, Vesna. Well done. Brilliant. Okay. Anybody else who would like to share really quick any core strengths? Going once.
I can. I'm Molly.
Yeah, Molly, go ahead.
Molly. I had that my core strengths is that I focus on the positives. I like to celebrate wins, both of my own wins and others. Strong speaker, effective leader. I always try my best, and I treat everything I do as if it's my profession. Those are my strengths. For
do every job as if you're being paid $1 million for it, and then it's good. Yeah. Okay. And your X factor?
The next section is I've received many awards in different areas, whether it was my singing or with Toastmasters or from the city, showing that somebody's noticing and appreciating it. So that would be my X factor. And then as far as people that could verify it, my husband, and there's also some people on this call probably that could.
Okay, brilliant. So there we go. And I could almost, when you said about the part about you celebrating wins, and that is something that is a constant reminder that we need to always get, because when we get bogged down to it, and there was immediately that branched out in my head to multiple stories. For example, you're celebrating your win, or you're celebrating wins of the people around you. And in my head, when I would think of Molly, I would think of somebody who celebrates wins. A case in point of how personal branding and storytelling works, right? Brilliant. Thank you, everybody. Now, we can skip that part. We've already talked about it. We have a discussion. Here is a very important point that I would love for all of you to take a note of, right? It is something called the eulogy experiment, which I don't know if you've ever done it or not, but it's a tough one. And the reason I always do this, and I always do it with the intention of us trying to discuss it, but then I don't want to discuss it towards the end of it because it's just, it gets a bit heavier. But here's the experiment. You're dead, right? We're all we're all gonna be there someday. That's the only thing that's uniting all of us. And what are people saying about you at your eulogy? What it does is that it takes this lens beyond your life and it extends it and it reflects it back at you. What are they saying about you when you're not there? And once you've lived your life, the people and the friends who would want to be there. And let's put a minute on the clock. And I want you to just, you don't have to write it down. It's up to you how you want to do it. It would be very dramatic if the light went off now. So like I said, but yeah, a minute on the clock. And I want you to just list that down in your head and see how it is about as well. Marcy, if you have a question, we'll get to it right as the 1 minute is up. All right, almost there. We're here, we're alive. We could shake that off a little bit. I don't know if you did that experiment or not, but here we are in this room. And I'll tell you the reason why I want to do this experiment, and I always want you to be able to think about this and be able to work with it as well, is because it really shows you the priorities that you have and the priorities that you want to be able to work with, because you want to be able to develop public speaking, all these sorts of things as well. But a eulogy experiment really shows you where you want to stand, and it can tell you the gap that you're working with at the moment, where you are, where you want to be, and how those things come about as well. Because here's the thing. The graveyard is the richest place on earth. There's a quote from that Brown, because it is here that you will find all hopes and dreams that were never fulfilled, the books that were never written, the songs that were never sung, the inventions that were never shared, and the cures that were never discovered, all because someone was too afraid to take that first step, to keep with the problem, or too determined to carry out their dream. Our job today is to hopefully get to that point where you don't take the things that you're good at, the stories that you have, down to the grave, but you're able to bring that out now to be able to share it online and offline and work on that storytelling within yourself, right? That is what the eulogy experiment usually does as well, which is heavy stuff. But here we are, we're alive, we're okay. All right, now that we've worked on what we are, what do we think our core strengths are? How do we go into defining what our mission statement is? And that's usually the thing that you come to when it comes to your brand as well, right? So there's a purpose, which we already worked with in terms of your core strengths. And if you have that, you should be able to share that as well. Then we work with a mission statement, which is usually 10 words or less. And then we go into your brand brief and how does that look like? Now, the mission statement structure is very simple. And as I put this up, I don't want you to be able to think about this. I help who to do what, which does what? What's the outcome of that, right? You help who to do what, which does what. Now, there could be multiple aspects to you. You could be a creative in which you're doing something else. You could be a speaker in which you're doing something else. You could be a teacher or a professional in whatever corporate environment you are. And it is okay to have different mission statements for different things as well. But pick one for now. And who do you help to do what, which does what at that point in time as well? Oprah Winfrey, we all know of her, a well-established figure. And she says, to inspire others to be more than they thought they could be, right? Answers to who, what, and how as well. Next up, we have, this is a personal friend of mine and one of my first people who worked with me on this whole aspect of personal branding as well. And his professional statement was to help companies grow by using the latest ICT and office automation solution. From there on, immediately, you know that he has a business. He could be an entrepreneur or he could be a sales manager in which he's helping different ICT companies to be able to develop themselves using office and automation solutions. I don't know if you're aware of him, but his name is Mohammed Shukri. He's one of the accredited speakers that came from the world of Toastmasters from Bahrain. And I love the statement that he works with, and that is, I help bringing bring speaking to your life and life to your speaking, which I thought was quite an interesting mission statement to lead with. And he just recently wrote a book that came out as well that deals with this sort of a thing as well. It's called The One and Only. All right, we know this guy, right? Seems familiar. You must have seen him around somewhere, did a video or something to invite you here. To inspire individuals to do better, be better, right? That's my statement. And case in point, this is why I'm here. This is why I'm in Toastmasters. This is why the reason I'm staying in the world of Toastmasters as well and outside is to be able to inspire individuals to do better, be better. So we're going to put up this statement as well. I help who to do what, which does what. Now, some of you will have this aspect of the brand statement as well. Please, you can go on the link again on Mentimeter or scan this and don't overthink it. This is one of the places it doesn't have to be perfect. The first thing that pops into your head, just write it down and we'll put 1 minute on the clock, which is why I don't want you to overthink it. Who do you help to do what with just what? And you can share that with us. All right. Has anybody been able to share their statements? Let's move over there and see what we have. Whoop, where'd it go? All right, I hope you're able to share the screen. Okay, somebody here helps Toastmaster clubs to develop and improve their communication and leadership skills to reach their goals and dreams. I love that. That also is very like a club statement sort of a thing that comes out that we usually see on the agenda. Help students of all ages confidently to share their voice. A perfect brand statement over there as well. Anybody else who would like to unmute their mics and share it with us, what their statement is? What do they think their statement is? Go ahead. Anybody raise their hand? Marvin, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I solve problems to help you grow.
You solve problems to help us grow.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Now, if you just put a how to that in terms of how, not now, but in the brand brief and the statement that will come to, that's a perfect brand statement, right? That's how you can introduce yourself. Marvin, what do you do? I help solve problems to help you grow, right? So that is a sort of a thing that is usually helping you in introducing yourself when it comes to that part as well, right? Now, once you've done that mission statement, we work from the purpose, we've come to our mission statement. For me, it's helping individuals do better, be better. They should have been there in the eulogy experiment, right? So let me just switch that light on, hold up. Also helps me stretch my legs and I'm back, right? Here we are. Now, once you've done that, let's take Marvin's example. So Marvin helps people, solves problems to help us grow. When you go take that further, Marvin, what you do is he helps people to solve problems to help them grow using what to do what, right? Marvin, if you were able to take this example and solve that a bit further, how would you go about it? So we already know you solve problems to help people grow using what?
Technology.
Brilliant. Okay. That or to?
Leadership.
To what?
Leadership. Or two, say?
Yeah. So you use leadership, is that your company's name? No. So take that step further. So you help people solve problems using technology to help them grow, for example, right? Are you a tech consultant of some sort? You're working in the tech field. Is that what it is? See, that's how it would come about to. So that becomes your brand statement and your mission statement as you go about it as well, right? So that is your brand brief when it comes to it. So you're helping people grow using technology XYZ, that does what sort of an impact when it comes to it as well, right? Does that make sense, Marvin?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Is that how you introduce yourself to people?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
Okay. So when you start sharing your stories online, that's how you would come about it as well. Marvin feels like I just put him on the spot, which I did. I appreciate you being on the spot, Marvin. Thank you. All right. Now, brand brief example, for example, I help individuals be a better version of themselves by sharing my passion for self-discovery and kindness, using my strengths in speaking and writing to inspire people to be their best. This is my trainer persona. This is my public speaker persona. However, in my work, I work for a university and I help professionals develop their skills by supporting them through their postgraduate education so that they can stand out in their professional lives. This is an example of how it would be. It's not something that you introduce yourself with. You cannot go like, hi, my name is Khurram, and I help professionals develop their skills by supporting them. No, this is not how it works out, but it's good for you to know so that you're able to put it up in your introductions, in your statements, in your CV, or specifically in LinkedIn, as we'll talk about it as well. But there's anything that I want you to remember most throughout this presentation is that all of this that we've talked about, it has to be genuinely you, because people will spot inauthenticity and fakeness from a mile away. You can get that part to it before. You can talk about all the things that you don't, that you may not be able to. They're not your core strengths, and you can lead with that. But the cracks will sooner or later start to show. So whatever you're working on, whatever this personal branding world is, it has to come from you, and it has to be genuinely you as well, right? In the interest of time, we're going to skip that. In the 60 seconds breather, we've gotten that as well. Let's move further. Now that we've decided, we know what our mission statement is, we know what our purpose is, we know that we want to be able to work with this. How do we start? Where do we start giving our brand life, right? And there are three aspects to it. One is your online aspects, one is your brand assets that you can develop as you're going into this field as well, and one is the offline experience that you're providing, your online brand presence. Now, here's a question for all of you. What do people do most on social media? Think of it yourself. What do you do most on social media?
Scroll.
Scroll, right? Doom scrolling is an epidemic almost. It's an
Post
endemic.
pictures.
Right? Scroll, yeah, no, that's absolutely
And
true.
repost.
And the other way to put that, Marcy, is stalk. Knowingly or unknowingly, what you're doing is you're stalking. You're stalking somebody, you're stalking somebody else. It comes as a part of it as well, right? So that if somebody ends up stalking you on your profile, what's the story that your online brand or your online presence is sharing? That's the question I want you to think about, right? Is it something, and that is if you're working in this field, if you just want to put up a personal profile where you're just sharing cutesy photos of your family and friends, that's absolutely fine. It's just, that's the brand that you're working with. But if you're putting yourself out there towards a specific goal, towards that mission that we just talked about, then that's something that you would have to work with as well. You need to find out where your audience congregates and meets them there. And I use the word congregates consciously because that's where your audience is gathering. That's where you got to meet them as well. So for me, for example, when my visual artistry or my photography or my art, because my photography is my main discipline, that's on Instagram. That's where I'm showing that sort of a story as well. But my professional aspects of it, or this training or anything like that, that's on LinkedIn. And then on my website is because I own my website. I don't own Instagram or LinkedIn. That's where I bring both of these things together. And that's still a work in progress. It's been some like, does it work? Does it not work? And I've been experimenting with that as well. However, I believe the kind of thing that we're talking about, LinkedIn is a must. Now, here's when it comes to it, what kind of a brand asset that you can develop. Now, for me, because I'm a recovering perfectionist, I went through more than 65 versions of the logo that I wanted to do. And it helps to have graphic designers as your friends. I would not recommend this strategy at all. It was a really good friend of mine who was able to have patience with me and work with this as well. But what I wanted to do is, as I started going outside of Toastmasters and delivering more presentations, I wanted to have a similar look and feel of how am I presenting my brand. And that's in where the color palette came in, the logo came in, but that is something that worked for me for what I was looking at. That may not work for you as well, right? A website is a part where do you need to have it is a question that you should ask yourself. Now, a lot of the people in the room may not need to have it, but I wanted to show you that if it is something that you're working with and you want to be able to take that further, it is possible that you work on your website as well. Mohammad Gahtani, we all know of, he's a dear friend across the border, 2015 world champion of public speaking. Dhananjaya, 2014 world champion of public speaking. And I put these examples because these are people whom we have seen, we've learned from as well, and this is how they're working on it as well. Mohammed Shukri, I quoted him earlier as well. He booked me for events, and he's talked about his book over here as well, because that's what he was promoting, and that's what he's able to put up as well. For me, I would put my visual work and all of my artist work here, and then I put my trainings and stuff over here as well. And it was very interesting thing. I'm like, how do I represent the three aspects of me? But you're multidimensional, and you got to be able to own that as well. However, on LinkedIn, it's a separate persona that comes about, and on Instagram, it's a separate thing that would come about. I can't handle Facebook. It's been so long. I haven't been able to use that. And my millennialism is showing as well. So I'm sure many of you would be on Facebook as well. So if that's something that you want to work with, see how that works. But you got to find where your audience is congregating, and you got to meet them there as well. But offline, it's a very interesting thing, because you can present a story, and we've all come across those people who look so brilliant online, and it's like, oh, they're the most confident people and there's so much to offer. But when you see them in real life, you go like, that's it? That's what we're coming across? Is there nothing else? You've got to be able to walk the talk, because in this world, in many ways, for this case in point, right, you were able to see something online, but when you meet them in person, this is semi-meeting us in person, is that the impression that we're giving off, right? So whatever story you're putting up, you got to be able to make sure that you're backing that up. Your brand's experience is consistent throughout. At any touch point that people are coming in touch with you with, whether it's online, offline, in person, or otherwise as well, it's got to be consistent as well, because this whole thing is about impression management. How are you managing the impression that you're leaving people with as well? Now, I would like Vesna to answer, because she already got ChatGPT working with as well. What do you think of ChatGPT helping you with your personal brand, Vesna?
I love it.
Or any AI?
I actually love using new technology, and I actually hooked my husband on it. He is in love with ChatGPT. I personally love using it for the creativity, for Toastmasters, for answering, putting together documents and all that stuff. So I do love using AI.
Brilliant.
Pros and cons. When you asked the question about the eulogy, I asked the ChatGPT to do eulogy for me.
Okay.
And it's actually, it's funny how accurate it is. So it's mind-boggling. So I like it. Pros, I guess I do use it a lot. Cons, I don't know. I guess relying too much on it could be a problem, and if it's not up to date, if you're not checking all those things, you could get some wrong information. So yeah, I love using it. Yeah.
Now, here's the kicker. Vesna, depending on the kind of conversation that she's been having, the eulogy that ChatGPT gave her may not be all too different than the eulogy that if I ask, it will give me as well, more or less, So that it's absolute. Here's my 2 cents on that, Vesna. You're absolutely right. You should use it. It's a tool, but here we're talking about personal brand, right? So you can use it, but you got to make sure that that personal touch is coming as well. You're verifying it. It's a very good starting point. It's not something that you should be relying on throughout. But if you want to, here is something that a PR expert usually talked about, is a prompt that you can give ChatGPT or whichever AI tool you're using to be able to use that. So you're a personal branding expert with over 10 years of experience, use this to assess the website and prepare a detailed report outlining this person or the company's USP, values, brand style, personality, and voice. What this will do is give you an audit of where you are currently, right? So you could use this to help you out. It's a prompt. By all means, use it. But all the things that I've talked about, the idea is for you to sit on a nice Saturday or Sunday afternoon with a cup of tea or coffee, whatever works for you, and think about the kind of things that you want to be able to work on and the story that you want to share, right? Because every time you open your mouth, and I mean online or offline, you're mostly reinforcing, rarely forming, but always ever changing people's perception of you, aka your personal brand, right? Your personal brand is people's perception of you. Every time you share something, you're going ahead with it as well. Marcy, did you have a question? You're raising your hand. Go ahead.
I was just going to have a comment because when you put up the comment regarding Jeff Bezos and his personal brand, there is a lot being said about the company in one side, but about him in another. So every time he opens his mouth or his actions, it's very different how people are perceiving him. And again, depending on what circle you're traveling in, but it's very evident and the conversations that are being held. Just to reinforce what you're saying.
Absolutely. You do. That's why I give a comment like he may not be a personal example, perfect example to follow, but he said something that actually summarizes these things very well. But then his actions are contradicting what he's saying and the whole things that are happening, all these sorts of elements that are coming in. But yeah, we take the good that we can out of people in the statements as well. Absolutely. All right. Now, next up, we have benefits of personal branding. And I'm aware of the timing as well. So we're going to rush through this a little bit as well. But I wanted to share this here with you. We're going to skip that as well. But I remember last time I put that up and somebody was like, that's you? Like, yeah, so this is a quarantine edition. I call this the, this wasn't always there. So I came up afterwards as well. But the year is 2019. And I remember where I was when I got a call. And it was the organizers of TEDx Adlia who called me and they said, we want to be able to have you as our opening speaker as well, right? So somebody who's starting up with that. And I was honored and I asked them, okay, how did you get my contact? Because these are people that I didn't know of. And they mentioned an organizer who was working with them knew me through the world of Toastmasters, and they wanted me to be able to come and share something or the other. Now, I'm sure you know how TEDx works. You can be a speaker as well. It's not as hard or so, but you have to apply for it. You have to go through through a process, and not a lot of people are able to get that. But us as Toastmasters and communicators, this is always an aim to be able to put the TEDx speaker title or to be able to get that message that you're sharing across as well. And I, for one, am very grateful for this opportunity that came to me. And the reason it came to me is because somewhere, somehow, somebody knew that they're looking for a speaker and I am a speaker. And lo and behold, they gave me a call as well. That is what personal branding can do for you as well. It's the kind of storytelling that you put across, and then these sort of opportunities come across for you as well, because it gives you more opportunities to do what you love. If you're in sales, for a lot of people, and I'm sure some people here can help you identify that as well, it can generate more leads depending on where you're working. And because it expands your network with like-minded people. And Austin Kleon in his book, Show Your Work, really talks about it, where he says, social connections, tribes, you just share your work without the expectation of anything coming back. You're just sharing your stories, and it helps you find your tribe as well. It was when I started sharing more of this work that landed me this as well, right? That I'm able to be here and sharing this with you across continents, really, and across time zones. And one of the best examples and the benefit that it can give you is that it tells you the story that you want people to know. Because people are telling your story with or without you, as we talked about. But if you're working on this whole thing, you can influence that aspect of things as well. I don't know about you, but I think it overall brings you confidence and happiness. And my name means happy, so that's what I try to strive with overall as well. So for me, it gives you overall confidence. But your brand is your asset. Nobody can take it away from you except you. If you're able to work on it constantly and you're working with it throughout, and here's where I will give the example of Warren Buffett's quote, where he said that it takes, I could be wrong with the numbers here, about 20 years to build a reputation and 20 seconds to ruin it, right? So it is a marathon that you're working with, the reputation that you work with throughout. Your brand, the story that you share is your asset, and nobody can take it away from you. And in many cases, it can also lead you to career success as well. For me as well, my first job that I got was because of this and through Toastmasters. My second job that I got was exactly because they wanted somebody who could speak and represent the university well. And I was from an IT background, but they wanted somebody who could represent the university in terms of fairs, recruitment, and events. But they knew I could speak well, and that's how I was hired. And I've been in the education field ever since, right? So that was a case in point, my personal example of how that led me here as well. All right, now that we've established all this aspects of what a personal brand could be, and hopefully you have some semblance of how you want your personal brand to be, let's look into LinkedIn in particular for the next about 15 minutes, right? Now, let's not go into this, but I want you to share, why do we bother with LinkedIn? Anybody who'd like to unmute their mic and share? Why should we bother with LinkedIn?
Hi, it's Marcy.
Marcy, yeah, go ahead.
I believe we should connect with the LinkedIn community. One, because that's where professionals are gathering right now. You said, where is your audience? Where is the tribe that you want to connect with? Where
Absolutely,
are
yeah.
you going to connect and make those things that are going to help you promote your career, where you can learn from people, help people, and grow your business?
Tell your
That's
story.
where you tell your
Yes.
story.
Period.
Absolutely. Molly, did you have something to add?
I was just going to say to tell your story and to get business.
Absolutely. If that's what you're working with. I know so many salespeople. Jatinder, the one that I mentioned earlier, and I gave an example, he's now hosting something called an Entrepreneur's Night for the first time ever that's being held in Bahrain. And through these sort of events, through LinkedIn, he's been able to get so much business he's doing all these things that are not directly his business, but he shares these stories and people go like, okay, who is he? What does he do? Oh, he's selling equipments and IT solutions, and we are in need of it. And then they reach out to him. So he's been able to generate so much business and revenue through that as well. No, absolutely, you're right. But here's the question that I'm going to ask you about your LinkedIn. Is there anybody here who doesn't have a LinkedIn account before I go any further? All right, nobody's saying nothing. Everybody has LinkedIn. Everybody's sharing LinkedIn as well. Brilliant. Olanari, I see the red light acknowledged coming in as well. All right. If somebody was to land on your profile right now, what would they think about you? Here's a question I want you to ask yourself. If somebody lands on your profile right now, what would they think about you? And what more can you do to have your profile more of a representation of your envisioned brand, right? So what would people think about your profile when they come to it? And what's the difference between where you want them to think and what do you think they will think as well? All right. I'm going to put up this thing again because there's a couple of statements I want you to rate. And so this is the same link that was shared. Olari, if you can share that link again in the chat so that it's easier for people to access. So if not, you can just share that as well. And I just wanted to gauge where we are when it comes to this whole thing about LinkedIn. Thank you, Lenari. Oh, okay. My current LinkedIn is a representation of my vision brand. And okay, things are moving, things are moving. Okay, I feel like there's a lot of work to be done in that case then. If your LinkedIn is not a representation of your envisioned brand, and then hence that's why you're here, I suppose. So, and also because a lot of people feel like they're bragging if they're sharing their achievements, which is also something I wanted to gauge, and we're going to touch upon that a little bit as well. And it can also make you feel that you're falling behind. You're guilty of that myself. Like I usually get to have that as well. That's it. So usually this is the sort of thing that would come about as well. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for answering that. It gives me a clearer idea of where we all are when it comes to this as well. Now, here's the main thing. In order for you to be able to answer that question as well, if you feel like you're falling behind, if you feel like it is not a representation of your brand, why are you doing what you're doing? Right? So who do you want to reach with your account when you do story? That's a foundational question that you got to ask, because many times you're just shooting arrows in the dark, right? You don't know what you're doing. You're just sharing something or the other. But here's some foundational questions before you get into all of the work that we've been doing, by the way, is very foundational before you get into that aspect of, this is hard work that you'll have to do before you get to start sharing your story, right? And what is your goal of being on LinkedIn, right? Many times when you ask people, and I've done this a bunch, I ask them like, oh, I just want to share stuff. I want to get leads. Okay, but how are you doing that? How are you sharing the stories? What are you working with? Who are the audience that you're targeting? Who are you networking with? Whom are you reaching out to? And they don't have an answer to any of these as well, right? And Whose content do you enjoy yourself? Right? Whose content are you enjoying? What kind of content are you consuming on LinkedIn as well? These are foundational questions that will help you answer and hopefully get that number up as well, right? So this is me. This is my profile, something that I've worked with, something that people have mentioned that it's something that represents, and they've looked at it and they worked with it. And hopefully it helps you out as well. Here's a couple of things that work with that we can start with when it comes to aesthetics, or at least the starting point of it as well. There are a couple of elements: a headshot, no selfies. I am strictly against selfies on it. And I've seen that as well. Unless you're some sort of a creative, this has to be professional, right? Headlines are a hugely missed opportunity, right? This is where the brand statement that we worked on earlier comes into play. Helping professionals develop postgraduate education, all right? And then if you have a website, you can put that up over here as well, depending on your location. Header is a very missed opportunity. For me, this is a representation of who I am. I've got a university that I'm working for, which is Strathclyde, comes from Glasgow. And this is my own thing where I'm a speaker, trainer, and a visual artist, right? This is so simple to make. You just open Canva, and I know you've had Canva workshops as well. If not, Olanari would be more than happy to help you with this. I'm pretty sure. Olanari, yeah? Where is she? Yeah, I'm sure. She's like, this was not part of the deal. I don't want people. And also work and study. So when you start working on it, take an audit of your own LinkedIn right now and be like, do you have a header that represents you? Do you have a professional headshot coming in as well? Do you have this is that impression management that we're talking about that we have been mentioning as well. Somebody opens your profile, what do they come to and what do they see, right? Another example of that, this was an example given by LinkedIn. Now, if you go on Nashla's profile now, it's not the same anymore, right? She's changed it up. She's moved on from Google, but it was a representation of how she was at that point in time. And when I've been looking at examples worldwide, this is an example that came about. She built teams that shape Google's future, right? She was an HR professional, a headshot, which could be better, but it's still professional and better than many I've seen as well. And the header was very interesting because it showed she was representing the brand of Google at that point in time. And that's what it cared about as well. So, right, if you go to your profile, what sort of a thing is being represented? This is another friend of mine here, a Toastmaster, an old one. I wanted to ask you, when you see this, he's changed it up since, but I keep it as it is. What do you think he's talking about? Would anybody like to share? What impression do you get from this? You can unmute and share, that's okay. We're all friends here now. We've been together for an hour.
He's a professional speaker.
Professional speaker,
He's a sales trainer.
He
teaches people how to sell.
Absolutely, right? So he's able to put that up as well. What do we think about all these logos that he's put in over here? Do we like it? Do we not like it?
Bragging rights, and I wouldn't put it on the image. I would put it in the profile.
That's something that I told him as well. Absolutely. like I get what you're trying to do, but I feel like, it comes off as too much. Ling, you've got a question?
Yeah, I have the same feelings. Impression just is on the top. It's just visually it looks too busy.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I believe he's changed it now, hopefully. But no, I keep it that way because it becomes a very good example. But he's somebody who really works on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is sort of his bread and butter. Like, this is where he earns his bread and butter as well, right? So he keeps innovating, he keeps changing that part as well. So he's a good profile to see and to learn what to do, and also for any profile that you would come across, what not to do, something that doesn't resonate with you as well, right? So it's not a one all have all as well, but thank you for sharing that. Now, this is where AI can come and help you as well. I feel like this is a missed opportunity from a lot of people. This is not where you copy paste your personal profile from CV and put it up over here. There are different ways to be able to do that. So these are all the certain things that we usually, when we are working on our profiles, we don't think about a whole lot. I like Fatma's example. She's also a dear friend over here. She doesn't have this anymore, and I've told her this because I loved it and I use it as an example. This humanized her for me. She was talking about how she took a leap and started her own PR agency. what are the milestones that she got in the past year, but what else is she working on, which I thought was an interesting example as well, and something that I learned from, and it's something that I tried including in my own about that we're working in as well. This is a chance for you to show who you are, what are you working with, and how can you help with those things as well, who you are, right? The brand mission that we talked about, and we talked about a brand brief, those are the sort of things that can come about over here as well, right? Now, when it comes to content creation, here's a couple of tips that I'll leave you with. Ali and Kupa have a book called Unfair Advantage. The core strengths that we talked about and your X factor that we talked about, those are your unfair advantages. Lean into them. There has to be something or the other that you've been exposed to more than others in your network. For me, it's public speaking, it's communication. I was exposed to it at a very early age. That's something that I lean into, and that's something that I share as well. Our human brains are to have ideas, not to keep them. If you have Google Keep or Notes, if you can, create a little tab or little note over there. And every time you're coming across something that you feel would be an interesting story to share for the brand that you have envisioned, write it down, right? What this does is it gives you a bank. It's a very good idea for you to do your speeches as well. This is what I tell something to all my mentees as well, where every time you think that it's this good topic for you to talk about, a good thing to share, write it down, do a quick capture. This is a rule that I don't follow myself, but if it helps you, you can do that. A lot of people usually like to follow this sort of a thing. It's a tool at the end of the day, but a caveat, I don't follow it myself, but it's that 5 curation. So basically, if you're into public speaking, you curate that sort of a feed in which you're sharing or resharing posts about people who are into public speaking, for example. 3, creation, in which you're sharing your own stories, could be awards, could be lessons, could be failures, could be anything of that sort. And 2, that has nothing to do with that. 2, that makes you think that you're not only a public speaker, but you're also a human. So what is the kind of book that you're reading? What else have you experienced in your life overall as well? Once again, take it as you will, not necessarily that you have to do this, but if you want, you can. The question that I asked earlier about whose content do you enjoy yourself, you can emulate that, not imitate them, emulate them with a tribute. It's the best form of flattery, in my opinion, as well. And this is something that I hold on to quite a lot. I think that if you have something to share and you feel it can help one person, it is your responsibility to do it, right? So if you have a story to tell, if a lesson to be shared, something that you learned that can help one person out there, and in many ways, we talk about this in Toastmasters as well, do that. I think it's your responsibility to do that as well, right? There are a couple of things in which you can shift focus as well. Now, how can you use Toastmasters to this extent? We are here to develop ourselves, aren't we? We keep reinventing ourselves. There's so many things that we're learning as well. But many a times, there's so many things that I've come across profiles that all they have to do is share things about Toastmasters, which is okay if that's the sort of a brand that they're working with. But there's so much more that you take from Toastmasters and are able to apply in your other aspects of your life as well. Be able to share that as well is what I'm saying. But there's so much material when we're going through this journey of Toastmasters as well that we can use that to share our stories as we go about as well. It's important for you to highlight skills, not just experience, what you get through with it. Showcase achievements, not just responsibilities. So whatever you've had in terms of responsibilities, whatever your work is, how did you accomplish it as well, right? So I believe Molly mentioned that she's gotten multiple awards for different things. So those are achievements for the responsibility that you might have had. If you have any volunteer work or extracurricular activities, our Toastmasters as a case in point, or anything else, for example, you can share that as well. So not just your corporate world. So these are all very contextual. These tips are there for you to think about, to see how those things would work as well. If you didn't know already, whatever you share on LinkedIn is indexable, right? There's something called SEO, which I believe Kejitan had a workshop before as well. So if somebody is Googling something or the other and they're in the area or something, your profile, if it matches the keywords, could come up as well, which is a very good thing to have, right? Even ChatGPT, I've seen, not ChatGPT, other platforms reference LinkedIn posts as well. How accurate is that? We do not know, but it is indexable. So if you're able to share that, make sure you can use keywords as well. And feel free to write what you're writing and run it through whatever AI platform you're using to be able to help you out as well. Here's an example. If you like donuts, this is what you would put out. On Facebook, it is, I like donuts. On Insta, it is, here's a cool pic of my donut. On WhatsApp, perhaps you're asking, anyone wants a donut? But on LinkedIn, you hope to operate a donut franchise one day, or you're looking for a donut company, or here are 3 recommendations from former donut colleagues that you've had if you're working in that sort of field. And this example comes from LinkedIn themselves about different platforms and about things here as well that they were recommending for students. So just a different way of how you can take something that you're sharing on one platform and how you're able to share that on another platform as well. What you don't want to do is this, where this gentleman went on a campus tour, was not accepted in Stanford, and has it as education on their LinkedIn profile. And you'll come across a whole lot of them with that sort of thing as well. So what you don't want to do is do this. There's a whole subreddit on Reddit that's called LinkedIn Lunatics, right? If you ever want to know what not to do, just scroll through that subreddit and you'll come across so many examples of such material where you go like, what did they have that morning that they woke up and decided to share this, right? I don't want to have that. So that's a very good example of what not to do. It's important for you to know what to do and what not to do as well, right? There's also something called your social selling index, which people don't know. There will be an activity sheet that Olanari will be sharing with you all afterwards that has a link to this, right? And including the activities and exercises that we have done earlier, where you can go and it will show you what your social selling index is as well. This is mostly geared towards marketers. And if you're not selling anything, that's absolutely fine. But what it does give you is these scores that you know you can work with in order for you, because this is LinkedIn rewarding you for working on its algorithm. So your professional brand, finding the right people, engaging with insights, or to build relationships throughout as well. So it gives you a good idea of where you are, benchmarking to where you want to go and where you want to work with as well, right? If you're working on LinkedIn or any other platform to grow, this is what you can come to. The mission of it is simple: to connect the world's professionals, to make them more productive and successful. So if you're able to share that, in which you're sharing that sort of a story, which is helping people be more productive and more successful, you are fulfilling the mission of LinkedIn, and therein, the algorithm angels will reward you for that part of a thing as well, all right? Now, there's a couple of questions that we can take up afterwards. How many times should you post on LinkedIn? Quality over quantity is what I say. If you look at my things, I have not shared a whole lot recently as well. On average, if you've got a story to tell, if you're sharing things throughout, when I was doing that, it was weekly at least. I would keep one day to write the post that I wanted to write and one day to be able to share that as well. Should you be commenting on your own post? A lot of people have that question when it comes to it. What the experts say, but this is always an experiment, is that as long as you're not the first one, it helps you reach your grow again. But as long as you're not the only one or the first one to comment as well, it usually helps as well. Which format should you be using best? Contextual, depends. You need to experiment in that marathon that we are about to go on and see what works well. It could be carousel, vertical, short form. The new thing that's come about is GIFs. So it's just basically a moving thing that comes throughout. Just sort of an image, but a moving image that comes about. So what's the best way to end a post? It is through a call to action, which is not always this agree. Because every time you write whatever you want to write, and then towards the end of it, you go like, agree. Oh, what if I don't agree? So what happens when it comes to that as well? So there are different ways you can do that. And this is where AI could actually help you think about those posts as well throughout, right? So this is a part that I wanted to come to in the interest of time, where we've talked about what it is, personal branding. It's your story, it's your perception, it's your value. We've talked about who you are and how can you go about defining it, what's your brand statement, and a very important thing for you to remember is authenticity. And talked about how to give your brand life online, what your brand assets could be, and where you are offline, and how you can use AI. It gives you opportunities to grow, to tell your own story, perhaps leading to career success as well. And we've talked a little bit about optimizing your profile and a must-have. The whole idea of this whole session today, ladies and gentlemen, was for me to be able to spark something that you can sit with and work with throughout as well. Because all it really comes down to is this: you do things, you tell people. That is what we are here for. That is what personal branding is. You keep doing good things, and you keep telling good people all around you as well. I will now hand over back to Olanari. And 3 minutes extra. I said I'll speak till about an hour and 15 minutes.
Thank you so much, distinguished Toastmaster Khurram. Salman. Yes, time for questions. Please go ahead, unmute, ask. The SME is here. Marvin has a question. Yes, please, Marvin.
You said don't do this, and you had that education, university education. I don't get that
Let me
because
say
you
that.
have your.
No, you absolutely should put your university education, but not the way that this guy's put in. He actually didn't go to Stanford. He went for a 45 minutes campus tour, and he mentions was not accepted, but he put it up on his
Oh,
LinkedIn profile, right? So this is a legit example that came across as well, right? So there are things like that where it goes into inauthenticity, where people would be just doing something or the other, but they share it in their education where they actually haven't done it, but they're putting it up like this. So this was more of an example. If you've done something, you've got the certification for it, you spent all that year in that university, absolutely put it in, but not this way.
oh, I see. So he's trying to promote that he went there, but he didn't actually. He gets a tour. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
But if you put
Got it.
Stanford, it will show up in your profile as well. And if people don't look deeper into it, which mostly people do, I mean, I don't think this guy can get away with it. But it was just an example where you go like, this is not what you do. Be authentic, be you.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, Khurram, I don't mind to, if you don't mind, I have a quick question there. It's good to put the year of the university, the year. Somebody told me that, for example, of course, you are getting older or whatever. The point is, people sometimes you can be excluded if your education is too long back and feel like that. Is that true
It is contextual. It's so a lot of the things when it comes to these, there's no hard and fast rule with these things right here. So it's one of those things where it might work, it might not work, you know? So I personally of the opinion where if because age discrimination is a thing. And if you feel like you're applying for something and you're not getting the answers or something or the other, you change your variables, right? So if you have the age, you keep it because that's what shows that you graduated. And in my opinion, it shows. So if I'm a recruiter looking at your profile, so it's your education, but I'll also look at your experience because after a certain point, your education is don't want to say irrelevant, but your experience is what takes over, right? So if you've got the experience, you've been working, that's what matters more. But if you're applying for something or the other, but you're not getting the response, if you see changing this helps, go ahead and experiment with that as well. But in my opinion, no, you should keep it. It just shows that. And your experience is what matters more. And this is coming from an educational background now that I work for universities, that after a certain point, it's your experience that really, really counts. And depending on the type of job that you're applying for, the field that you're in. Right? Or you look at your colleagues who are doing well and you want to do that, and you see their profile does not have a year, then that's something that perhaps works for them as well. So you emulate that, no worries.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Marcy?
We have Marcy here. Marcy.
Hi, thank you so much, Khurram. You mentioned how the header, a lot of people aren't taking advantage of that and not putting in the professionals part. I'd like to get your comment on the part where you tell a little bit of your story when you're putting that in. A lot of times I feel people are just pasting their CV. And I'd like to hear your comments on that with regards to how you would utilize that space on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. So, which is why the example that I gave here for Fatma, which was, in my opinion, a good example coming in about where it wasn't just about what for me, it really humanized her. It really talked about how she took a leap and formed her own PR agency. And so I know that she's a founder because she talks about it, but how did she become a founder is here. So for me, it was a very good storytelling example that came about as well. So what in my opinion is that you take this as an example and you look at the profiles. It's very important for you to look and benchmark, in my opinion. So you look at people's contents that you're enjoying. What have they put in their sort of a thing as well, if that's what you're aiming towards, right? You take that, you take write whatever you want to write, and then you're able to fine tune it. But this is a way where you can show, this is a space for you to be able to show who you are, what are your skills, what are your key achievements that you have, instead of just saying that you want to work for an organization that suits you better. No, so this is a place where you're able to humanize yourself, you're able to highlight your skills, you're able to humbly brag about the achievements that you've had as well. So the idea is not to be in your face about things, but the idea is to be, hey, this is who I am. This is the sort of thing that I do. So the mission statement that we talked about in 10 words or less, that we expanded into a brand brief using the qualities that does outcomes. That is a very good starting point. So you start with that, and you've got a whole lot more space for you to be able to do that as well and talk more about your story. So you talk about the skills that you have, because once again, this is indexable, right? So if certain people and certain recruiters are looking for one thing or the other, you have a higher chance in coming across if you're using the right keywords for the kind of thing that you want to do. And that's where this comes about.
Well,
Does that
thank
help,
you
Marcia?
very much. It's great. You just made my heart sing with this whole presentation. Thank you. You made me happy.
Well, I made you Khurram because, Khurram, happy. I love it.
Do we have any more comments, any more questions?
I just want to see if there's something in the chat, Nari. No questions? No? Brilliant. Oh, those are just nice things. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. You're just leaving nice comments over there. Brilliant. Ling is saying, can you explain more about the X factor? Is it? Yeah, absolutely. X factor is what people remember you most for, Ling. So this X factor comes from the show, The X Factor, right? So if you are really a good singer and people remember you and remind you of that as well, this is what people have verified to you again and again. This is something that you're good at. This is something that has perhaps earned you money, you've gotten certifications for, you've got a track record to prove for it as well. For example, me, I'm good, and what people have reminded me, and this is what landed me jobs as well and different sort of opportunities, is that I'm a good speaker. I'm able to communicate a message well, right? So that's where people are able to recommend me for that sort of a thing. So that becomes my X factor. So it's something that you have a history of, a sort of a skill that helps you as well, and people are able to verify that as well. So that becomes your X factor. You wanted to add something, Ling?
Thanks for the breakdown, the term, and also wondering on your like in the mission statement or the brief. I'm sorry, the brief instruction on LinkedIn. Can you add your outdoor achievement or your outdoor passion as well? For example, I like mountain biking a lot. Can I add that to the intro as well, in LinkedIn as well? Thank you.
It depends. You can have one for that sort of a passion thing that you're working with, and you can have one that is more professional, and then see which one do you want to represent yourself with on LinkedIn, if that makes sense. So that's why I gave 2 examples of mine, because me as an artist, because my hair is not just for show, it's the artist hair, and then you've got the other that is more professional as well. So you work with that sort of a thing as well. Does that make sense, Ling? I couldn't
yes.
hear you properly.
Yes.
Well, you please reach out to me, and if you've got a statement that you have in mind, I'm more than happy to give you a recommendation or just my 2 cents on that as well. Yeah.
Can I add you on LinkedIn as well?
Please do. Yeah. Usually I put up my
Thank
profile
you.
and I make people audit my profile because I love hearing feedback. But in the interest of time, we couldn't do that as well. But please reach out. Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sue, I have a question. I'm overtaking Olenari's job now, so.
Sorry about that. Just needed to unmute myself. Thank you very much for your presentation. It's arrived for me in divine timing. I was just curious because you mentioned something about the information where you can get the marketing, not the market, the marketing feedback, was it? There was like a slide with, that was the one. I've not seen that before, so I was quite curious.
No, absolutely. So what I will do is, Olenari will be sharing, there's an activity sheet that comes about in which you'll be doing all these exercises, and there's a LinkedIn audit that you will do for yourself, right?
Okay.
And in that, there's a link that will take you to where you can find out what your social selling index is. But even if you just Google LinkedIn social selling index, it'll give you that part as well. And it's not something that you should really work towards, but it's a good indication that gives you where you are, where you want to be, and how that's working out. That makes sense.
Yeah, I thought it might be interesting to see where it is
Absolutely.
now and then where
Yeah.
it is when we've made some changes.
Absolutely.
Because that would be a
Yeah.
great measure of progress.
Absolutely, yeah. No,
But thank you very much. That's
You're
really
welcome.
useful. Thank you.
Of course. William?
Yes, I've enjoyed this presentation immensely, Khurram. Thank you so much for appearing for us. And I just had a quick question about the 10 words. Is that a hard rule for the mission statement or for anything like that? Or is it just a recommended set of guidelines? Because I know in this day and age, as things get more hyphenated or possibly with, I guess, complex words or complex terms potentially.
Yeah, no, it is just a recommendation. It is really for you to be able to make it concise, because when we are Toastmasters, so we like to speak, right? And we can expand on things as we would want as well. But in fact, that is a very good thing that I always recommend my mentees for your speeches as well. If you're able to summarize the message of your speech in 10 words or less, and a lot of the world champions swear by it as well. So that makes it very simple. So the 10 words is just for you to be able to really cut the fluff away and come to the meat of things to see what it could be. So it's not a absolute hard. Apart from the selfie and the Stanford thing that I showed you guys, nothing is a hard rule. It's all recommendations. It's all things that I have experienced work well. You take them as you will, you experiment with them and see what works well for you. If that makes sense. Yeah.
I also just had one other question. In terms of experimenting with our profiles and sort of like the about mission statement and things like that, how frequently should we tweak our mission statement in a way that it doesn't seem as though that we're a chameleon or that we are constantly just trying to go with whatever seems to be the hottest new thing? It's more about like we're really trying to find our authentic selves.
Long enough for you to see some sort of a result that you're working with or working for, you know? Because if you keep changing, you will not see any results for any of the things that you're working for, right? So if you tweak it, you leave it for a while until you see some sort of a result forming, either that translates to more leads, more engagement, more storytelling, whatever it is that you're working with. That's why before you even get to that stage, there are some metrics that you have to work with, and you have to go like, okay, why am I doing what I'm doing? And what will that look like? I would recommend here, there's a book called Tiny Experiments by Dr. Ann, which talks about taking anything that you're doing as a very interesting experiment, right? In which you hypothesize that, okay, I'm going to change my LinkedIn bio, for example, and I'm going to change XYZ, and it's going to get me these results. And I'm going to experiment with that for about a month. And then that will give you a good indication. Okay, it worked, it didn't work, what didn't work, and then you just reiterate. So for those of you who are into project management, agile methodology is very similar, in which you look at how do you you run iterations and you run sprints to be able to work with that as well. But the idea is for you to not make too many changes, because then that just means you are not too sure, which is why what I'm talking about is before you get to that stage, because that's why LinkedIn I kept at the very end, right? But there's a whole lot of work that you have to do before you get to that stage. And that's where you take your time so that you don't keep making changes for that sort of a thing as well, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, distinguished Toastmaster. I just love when I say distinguished Toastmaster, Khurram, Salman. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, everyone. This has been an eye-opener. And I just loved when Sue said this came at the right time. Indeed, for me, this is the right time. Thank you. A couple of people have asked what's going on in our space. Next month, we have distinguished Toastmaster Vesna. She's handling, and that's for peer-to-peer, she's handling branding, Toastmasters brand compliance. For the D42 Synergy Hub, we are hoping that in April, we would have Paola Parina. She was with us in November. She took the stop scrolling session. We are hoping that she would come back, but she's yet to find time. But we are thinking of April, bring her back for an hour, 30-minute session. That's what it is in our space. Molly has graciously put the link for next month for the peer-to-peer session. That's what we have. It's 3 minutes past the mark. And I mean, we could stay here forever. We could just stay with Khurram and just keep soaking and taking everything from him. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, distinguished Toastmaster Khurram. This been amazing. Thanks.
I love that. Take care, everybody, and I will hopefully see you on LinkedIn or somewhere around the world on this World Show platform. But it was a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me. Good night. Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Great.